Hey guys, welcome back to the Road to A1 series here on Start Your Systems. We got a special guest joining us today. It's Mr. Kellen Brauer himself. How you doing, Kellen?
Oh, I'm not that special, but thanks for having me on your show, man. Great
Absolutely.
to be here.
Thanks for having me on your channel. This whole series has been a blast.
Yeah, people have definitely enjoyed it. It's kind of cool to hear the different stories and the backgrounds and stuff like that, because you see these guys on the streams and the broadcast, but you don't always get to know too much about them, and you've done a really good job of it so far. So
well, thank you. Yeah, it's been fun doing it. We were talking beforehand. Have you ever done a video on the channel where you're in the video, but you didn't do the intro? It's not your gameplay.
Well, I mean, I've definitely been in videos where I don't know that I did the intro and there was other gameplays involved, but I think this is the first time that it's going to be me in the video and none of my gameplay involved, and it's not a broadcast or a stream or anything like that.
Yeah, so it'll be a little different.
Yeah, it's a little weird for sure.
Yeah. So we see you're running 152. Are you racing this year?
Well, I felt like it was time to dust off the old controller and put it back in my lap and get behind the mic again. No, I am not racing. It would be fun to, but yeah, I think I would get a little bit too grumpy, and I enjoy streaming too much, honestly. It's a lot of fun to bring MX Simulator Racing to everyone's living rooms, and I think we're going to keep rolling it along for 2023.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be the same without you broadcasting anyways. It'd be beyond weird. I think everybody would boycott the new stream.
Yeah, right. Well, they would boycott me if I decided to race.
Yeah, exactly. Right, yeah, for sure. So since Kellen's not racing, we're not really going to talk about what he's doing this year, but I thought it would be cool to sit down and talk a little bit about the upcoming MX Simulator season, kind of do like a mini preview show, almost like they do for real life. So we're going to discuss some title contenders, who to keep an eye out for. We're also going to look at some maybe wild cards or people that you may not expect, but you should keep an eye on, especially for individual race wins. So thought that would be fun to share with everybody as we're pretty darn close to the start of the season.
Yeah, definitely right around the corner.
Yeah, it's snuck up on me. I know that. It always seems to do that, though, especially in Sim, since it starts a couple days before real life. So.
Well, I still feel like it's October. I can't comprehend that we're in 2023 already.
Kellen's living in the past over here. Mm-hmm. So first bit we're going to talk about is the title contenders. So you can't talk about the title contenders without first mentioning the reigning champ. Of course, Mr. Braden Carter. I was able to have him on here for a Road to A1 video. That one was really fun to put together with him. I think he's just been improving over the last couple of seasons, and he's probably going to be stronger this year than he has been the last couple of years, I would imagine. He's currently leading the MXS Battleground Series points, so he's looking to wrap that championship up, but his focus is definitely going to shift over to the RF Series here. What do you think of Braden's chances this season?
Yeah, I mean, I think that they're pretty high. I've learned over the years with this series to not almost bank on the fact that the guys that were at the top the year before will remain there, because Braden was our first repeat champion in 5 years. So I think that there's a very good chance that he does remain in that championship title hunt position, but you just never really know when the fall off is going to happen, when someone's going to be disinterested, or someone else is going to come to the forefront. We've obviously seen the resurgence of a guy like Payson Johnson coming into the 450 class this year and laying claim to the outdoors. So I think that I would still say Carter's my favorite going into the season, but I don't know. I think that once the first round and the first gate drop happens and stuff like that, a lot of things can change after the first round is done, and maybe Carter isn't leaving so happy as he was last year with the win.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like I said, I think he's more prepared now than he was. He's learned more, but I also feel like this is going to be the hardest year for him because his competition has been around a little bit longer. Obviously, some of them have been around way longer than he has, but like the rookies such as Payson Johnson, Colby England, they have another year under their belt. They should be more prepared. They know what to do different this season, so I do feel like it'll be harder for Carter this year.
Yeah, I think that it really is dependent on how those guys do in their second full year. I think a lot of people are looking at Payson to be probably the fastest guy in this series with the speed that he's been bringing of late. But it's one thing to be really fast. It's another thing to be consistent and be able to put it together for 17 rounds. And it's something that none of them have ever been able to experience to this point. So Carter was able to get a couple under his belt, and that experience can really help if they're in a title fight down the stretch, where Payson and Colby and those guys have never done it. Carter's going to know what it feels like to be at round 11 and be sick of playing the game, but know that you still got to keep grinding away and trying to win each week to clinch that championship.
Yeah, absolutely. So going into second person we're going to talk about is Mr. Alexis Leclerc. I don't know if anybody's been around as long as he has and been as good for as long as he has. I don't know how many seasons this will be in a row that he'll be racing at presumably the top level. But he's definitely been around a long time. We haven't heard a whole lot about him in the off-season outside of he was seen in Elsinore 04 a few days ago practicing. So, but we have every reason to assume Alexis is going to be strong again this next season.
Yeah, I mean, leave it to Leclerc to be the mystery that he's always been and just not race any off-season races, not show his face hardly anywhere, but probably still come out and be a contender right from the get-go. The only year since he's started racing that it really just didn't seem to work was his title defense year. After he won the title in 2018 and then came out in 2019, I think he missed the first main event of the year and then finished outside of the top 10 in the following 4 main events or something like that.
Yeah,
so
it
was a weird anomaly, but I don't think that I'm going to take much stock into that. He was every good as he's ever been last year, and obviously has some fresh faces in the game like Carter and some of these new guys that he never really had to deal with before when he was going up against Tyson or Siebold or Jack Haley or anything like that. So almost in a way, I feel like it's made him have to raise his game again to another level than he's probably ever been at. But I fully expect that at worst, he's a guy that wins a race or two and maybe struggles to be consistent, but at best is going to be right in the mix for a title all the way down to the final round again.
Yep, I totally agree. And I think it's so cool that he has stuck around with the game for so long, that he's still racing. The thing that happened a couple years ago where he lost the championship outdoors in an unfortunate way, and we all thought we were going to lose him, but it is so cool to see him still sticking around and still being competitive, especially with how long, when did he start playing?
Yeah, so when you're bringing it up, I think we're coming up on a decade of him racing professionally. I know that he definitely raced in 2013, but I think it maybe was only nationals, and raced a handful at the end of 2013 and earned national number 71, and then won the outdoor title the next year in 2014. So yep. I think we're now a decade into his journey, and man, 4-time national champion, 2018 Supercross champion, trying to click off more championships still. Pretty incredible career, no question about it.
Yeah, hands down agree. So going from the veteran, the guy who's been in it for the longest, go to the rookie with all the blazing fast speed, Mr. Payson Johnson. He's the reigning 450 motocross champion from 2022 now, and he had a few race wins last year, but he also threw a few away when he was definitely the fastest guy. So I think Payson has learned a lot last year, and he's gonna still have some things to learn this season, but still gonna obviously be a contender for race wins.
Yeah, I would think the thing I'm going to look for the most out of Payson this year is, I don't think, based on what I saw from him last year, that he's going to stop being sendy. I think he's still going to absolutely try to put down heaters and do them too late into races and stuff like that. It's more about, is he sendy enough to get big gaps so that when he starts throwing it away late in the race, he doesn't lose it, which is the thing that cost him a lot last year. It felt like into the second half of a main event, you're like just waiting for the pin to be pulled on the grenade and something to happen. But I think that he's still going to be probably the fastest guy week in and week out with qualifying times. The guy that we look at coming out of the heat race to be like, is he just going to lead all 20 minutes tonight? And it's up to, I think, like a guy like Carter or Leclerc or these more veteran guys, to if he gets out front, stay with him to some regard and put the pressure on him and make him have to respond to them being as fast and as strong as him deep into a race. Because I think that's one of those things that when you're young and you're still trying to get acclimated more to the 450 class and trying to win a championship, being pressured late into a main event like that is something that you just don't want to have to be dealing with. You want to win it straight up. You want to win it pretty easily. And when you have these veteran guys pushing you late into a main event, it's going to be difficult. So if he can get huge leads and not relinquish them too much, then I think he wins a lot of races this year and is definitely a guy that we would pick as a favorite to win the title. But it comes down on how loose he wants to be for all 20 minutes of these 17 main events.
Yep, hands down truth right there. He needs to, I think, for him to be a champion, he needs to accept the fact that there's a point in the main event, whether it's due to the roughness, the lines, lappers, where you start taking the conservative lines. Where if there's a big quad out there, maybe not doing it after the 12 or 13 minute mark, Yep. Especially if he has a lead and you don't need to do it. But maybe that's just how he feels more comfortable. He feels like he might lose his flow if he tries slowing down. So really, it's
there's definitely
up to him.
There's definitely something to be said about, like, these guys every single week will go out and they'll try to find the fastest way to get around a track in qualifying, and they will just do that for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be hard to, once the gate drops and you're racing, to not still be in that mindset and to realize that you have to triple something that you were quadding every single lap or whatever and get that timing right. Like, I think one of the things that the veterans of this game will definitely have an upper hand on is in those, qualifying sessions, they'll probably not be trying to go for the fastest time every time. They'll be looking for those race lines and trying to find the options that are going to work for them when the track wears in and gets really rutted and chopped up and they can't do those big lines like you're saying anymore. But Payson last year, he still wanted to do them. He still wanted to do the quad onto the tabletop after the start or whatever and things like that. So
and really, it wasn't even the big lines that always got him. It was somewhere else on the track that he might have not been focusing on as much because he was worried about hitting the big line.
Yeah, definitely. But I do remember, I think it was Anaheim 2 last year, there was this just
you're right,
quad jump that he was doing
no one else was doing.
Yep, and it bit him. I don't remember how late into the main event, but I think he was leading and it got him and he didn't win that main. So
yeah,
it's got to keep an eye out on stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely agree. Moving to the next guy is his teammate for most of the season last year, and I think they hang out quite a bit, play together, is Mr. Colby England. He kind of surprised me last year being his rookie season. He was really, really successful in the first half or so of the season, won a few main events, was right in the title hunt. Kind of had some struggles like you'd expect from a rookie in the second half of the season, but he still was really strong last year.
Yeah, agreed. I think it was almost kind of weird because you don't expect in a video game for the East Coast fade to happen necessarily. Like in real life, when the California swing ends and you go to these more soft rutted tracks, it can get a little bit tough for the guys to acclimate and they run into setup problems and they also get tired because we're at round 7 or whatever. But that seemed to kind of happen with Colby. I don't know why it did. I don't think he was messing with the setup too much. Obviously, the traction and everything doesn't change a whole lot, if at all, from week to week. So we're still running all that stuff the same. I think it was maybe just exactly what we've been talking about with these guys running out of steam a little bit. It's a game, but it is hard to be competitive at the top of it for 17 straight weeks. Like, it's not an easy game to have the mindset where you're going out there every single time to win or kind of crash trying. And I think that maybe that's a little bit of the wall that he ran into, but he still had a really great year, like you said. I think that it was a great learning year for him to know what the pace is in the class and what he can expect moving forward. And now I think, like Payson, I don't look at Colby as someone that's going to blow me away with speed, but I do look at him as someone that, I mean, he's going to start with those guys and be able to run with them for a long time and certainly contend for wins. And if he starts the season anywhere like he did last year with some solid results and a couple wins, I don't see any reason why he would have that same fall off again this year.
We're going to hop over to this other track here, continue the video. We covered a bit about the championship contenders, covered them pretty thoroughly, who we think is going to be in the fight for this 2023 championship. But we also want to touch on some challengers that won some races last year that may be looking to put themselves in that championship hunt talk. And the first person on that list is Tyler Lang. He won his first 450 main event last year, but then he proceeded to win, was it 2 or 3 in a row? I can't remember.
I think he won 2 in a row and was leading the third one in a row and crashed or something like that. But it was definitely, he went on a little mid-season tear there and didn't quite pull it together towards the end, but certainly a good stretch there.
Yeah, so, and of course he's always been super strong in outdoors. His only kryptonite, it seems to be, is either the beginning of the season or the middle of the season. When you look back at 2021, he was really good at the beginning of the season and then kind of fell off the pace. Well, in 2022, he was really good in the middle of the season and had made some big mistakes in the beginning of the year. So I feel like if he can put those two halves together, he could be a real threat to those guys we were talking about earlier.
I definitely agree with that as well. The one thing I think I'll look for most out of him is really just like the first maybe 3 rounds. I'll go 3 rounds before I can definitively say this is a yes or a no. But I'm curious with, he comes off the outdoor title and in 2021, and I know that it wasn't like the best circumstances to win it, but he legitimately was the pace and the speed and all of that of Leclerc in 2021. And both of them probably deserved to win the title, but Lang did win it, and there's only one guy that can. He was not Payson Johnson's level in outdoors, in my opinion, in 2022. And it almost, to me, felt like it slapped him in the face a little bit to come in with the number 1 plate and take him so long to finally get a moto win and an overall win and stuff like that. And I'd just be curious if that has knocked like his confidence level down just a little bit, to the point where he's coming into this Supercross season not feeling as good as he did after winning the outdoor title last year. Like, I feel like he wins the outdoor title, comes into Supercross, and is like, I should be a guy here. Like, I just, was one of the 2 best riders in the world for 4 or 5 straight months. Why should I not be able to win in Supercross as well? And then it took him a little bit of while to get that going as well. So I think if he comes out and at the first couple of rounds sneaks in a win or is on the box every week, then I'm going to be totally aside from that point being a possibility. But I do think that there is something to be said for coming into a title defense year and just not being the guy that you once were, I think.
Yeah, it definitely takes some skill, some mental strength to get past that. And I think Payson caught a lot of people off guard in the outdoors this last season, kind of out of nowhere. But Tyler, at the end of the season, they were doing really good. They kind of figured out how to race Payson. But I do agree that it could mess with your confidence, especially when you think you're the guy and you get like, no, you're not.
Yeah, he finally figured out the new KTM. That was the problem.
Yes, hands down.
Just like the real life guys.
Yep, Cooper Webb issues, Tyler Lang's issues, same thing. So, no, I think Tyler will be definitely strong. Of course, he's always been strong at the speedway races. He won Daytona as his first race win. So he'd be strong, a favorite for those races, and he won Indianapolis as well, so he definitely can do stadiums too. So be on the lookout for Mr. Lang. And another contender I wanted to touch on, particularly because he got his first race win last year and has been super strong in this offseason, is Jacob Hubbard. He got his first win at, I believe it was Denver last year. That was a crazy race, a whole bunch of battles going on, and he ended up the victor. And then in the Battleground Series this offseason, he has been super strong, like battling. He's running a similar pace with Carter. So I think Hubbard might have something for these guys this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Supercross, in my opinion, appears to be his strong suit over outdoors, and so I think almost on a flip side to Lang and the point I was making, I think Hubbard comes into Supercross thinking like, I just, basically 2 rounds ago won my first main event, so momentum can be rolling from that if you want to say. But I think he's going to be like probably over the moon excited to be racing Supercross again and want to show the skills that he has and level that out with some of the other guys that he didn't get a chance to really show it until late in the season last year. So I think for him, confidence probably is going to be really high. And I think I'll just say right now, I would say he would probably be like my dark horse A1 winner. Someone that, we're going to be talking about all the champs and we're going to be talking about all these guys at the first round of the year, and he'll just quietly, win his heat or be up towards the front, and then he's always been pretty good at starts. I could see him busting a whole shot in the main event and making things difficult for everybody else behind him. So I agree. I think that Supercross is a strong suit for him. I think that he's going to have a lot of things to be excited about coming into this year. And who knows, if he starts off strong, then we have, you've already gone through 5 guys before this. Maybe we have a 6th name in the hat for someone that could win a title this year and would, not necessarily super surprise us because he already has a win under his belt, but it would be another one of those titles that you'd be like, where the heck did that come from, in a way? Like, all these other champs are there, and suddenly Hubbard is the guy. Like, that would be pretty wild. But it's happened before. I'm tired of overlooking these guys coming into the season, and then by round 10, they're winning 4 or 5 straight races. So we'll see. Definitely.
So no pressure, Jacob, if you're watching this. Kellen's your Kellen's pick to win A1. So, yeah, just a couple challengers that I thought would be definitely worth talking about. Got their first wins last year and more confidence or less confidence depending on the situation coming into A1. There's a couple other people I just wanted to touch on quickly that may be there to steal a race win away. And there's a couple of former champions. You have Jeremy Siebel, Jack Haley, Jeremy Smith, people like that have won the championship in the past, who maybe don't play as much, don't put as much time into it as they used to, but still have the skills to get the job done.
Yeah, I think all of them, you're going to, at some point this year, be like, oh yeah, remember that kind of thing. Siebel seems to not really care that much for a long time and then just pull a rabbit out of his hat at like round 12 and whole shot and lead a bunch of laps or something like that. It just seems to be his MO of late, so I could see something like that happening again. And then really all the other guys that you've mentioned, I think it just goes a little bit back to like, what is their interest level? I think it was coming into 2021, if I remember right, that I asked someone who would know, what we're thinking of Jack Haley this year. And they were like, oh, he literally only plays the game on race nights, like doesn't seem to care. And then he finished like second at the opener. And I'm like, thanks for the intel. That was bad. But, it's stuff like that where you just, maybe these guys don't seem to care that much. Maybe they're coming in and they're just like, I'll just race for fun and see how I do. And then, bam, they do well. And suddenly they're in a title fight right away. I think that changes the mold a little bit. If any of those guys go into the first round and they're struggling to make the main or don't have a good race result in the main event or something like that, I could see any of them just be like, let's just go out here and have fun, and maybe we get a top 5, maybe we battle for a win here or there, but not going to put too much stock into it. And all of them are capable of winning. Obviously they have the pedigree to do so, but it just comes back to that commitment level and their interest in doing well for a season.
Yep. Definitely agree. Definitely people that you can't overlook or think, he's never going to win again. That's for sure. And then a couple other names I wanted to throw in there. People that haven't won yet but have been close. And that's Matthias Janis. He's been super consistent last year. I believe he was 6th in the points, if my memory's not failing me. And Luke Sullivan. He's had some success in the 250 class, and he's going full-time 450 this year. So those are a couple people you may want to keep your eyes on who may get a podium here and there, or maybe even steal a win. I don't see them contending for the championship, but like Kellen said, you never can underestimate people. As I clean you out.
Clean me out. But yes, definitely agree with what you're saying. I think there's a realistic chance this year for sure that those guys can get their first wins, can maybe take a few steps further forward. It's a little bit weird to me because I feel like with the talent that Payson and Braden and Leclerc have, that it feels top heavy in a way, but then you can also make a case and a reason why these guys would or should maybe win a main event this year based on some of the factors that we've already talked about with Payson's inconsistency, interest level from past champions, what kind of Leclerc we're going to get, is Carter going to be happy with his situation? Like, there's many reasons why out of nowhere you could have Matthias Janis win a main event or something like that, and I think we probably have to wait until a little bit later in the season before we start seeing that happen. I think it's pretty clear cut, at least in my opinion, of the guys that we should expect to win the first couple rounds of the year. But yeah, it would be cool to see. It's always fun to see a new winner. It's fun to see the emotion that comes with it. I never myself got to win a Supercross, but when I won the only moto that I ever did professionally, it was incredible, and it felt like I'd been knocking on the doorstep for a long time. So I feel like a lot of these guys in this 450 class have a similar mindset where they're like, I'm so close, like it's just got to be that one magical night that it all comes together. And who knows, we've seen weirder things in MX Simulator. I think that there's plenty of chances available for them to knock a win off when everybody and their mother crashes in a first turn pileup.
Yep, definitely agree. Definitely a couple people it would be cool to see get their win. Matthias has been so consistent up there, and Luke's been close too. He's had some bad luck, but definitely. And you know what? Those are just some of the names that we picked out that people may be contending for this year. If you have an opinion and think someone else that we didn't mention is going to be up front, tell us down below. Who do you think is going to take a step forward this year? And we'll make sure we read those, and maybe we agree, maybe we don't. But I wanted to thank everybody for watching, especially if you stuck with us for the whole video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope maybe getting you guys excited for this upcoming season in MX Simulator. And of course, thanks for joining me, Kellen. Thanks for talking everything over with me.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me. And like I said, thanks again for doing this series. Really, really cool to hear the backstories and stuff like that. And now I'm ready to see these guys do battle and create some enemies.
Yeah, definitely. It'll be fun to watch, that's for sure. So thank you guys again for watching, and we'll see you in the next, not next episode, but the next video.